MAGA Republican Kari Lake has surrendered in the defamation lawsuit filed against her by Stephen Richer, the Maricopa County recorder who's been on the MeidasTouch network before. Kari Lake is now admitting that she lied and defamed Stephen Richer and did so with actual malice in connection with the defamation lawsuit filed by Richer against Kari Lake. Now, Kari Lake, through her lawyers, has just filed a motion asking the court to enter a default judgment against her and for the court to determine the extent and amount of Richer's damages. Kari Lake did not fight. She concedes she defamed Richer, and she is obviously afraid to have the extent of her bad actions become public, as Barry Markson put it when he wrote about this breaking news. Wow. And Stephen Richer's responding to this as well. Take a look at his response right here. He goes, complete and total surrender by Kari Lake on the issue of liability, in reference to the defamation lawsuit that he had filed against Kari Lake, meaning it was always all BS. And she just entered that into court. Now we are on to damages. The great organization, pro-democracy defenders by the name of Protect Democracy, who was representing Stephen Richer in this case against Kari Lake, they wrote, Kari Lake capitulates in defamation suit. Victory. She admits to spreading lies about election official Stephen Richer. Kari Lake concedes liability for unlawfully defaming Richer, tacitly conceding she has no evidence to support her dangerous lies about Mr. Richer's conduct during the 2022 election. The only question now is how much she must pay for the damage she has done to our client. Stephen Richer continued to celebrate this big victory. He wrote, never surrender, referring to what Kari Lake said, lose on motion to dismiss. Never surrender, that's what Kari Lake would say, lose on appeals, a motion to dismiss. Face trial, Kari Lake, okay, I'll surrender. Let's take a look at a video that we published here at the MeidasTouch Network back in August, where Kari Lake implied that Stephen Richer, who sued Lake for defamation, is evil, and there's not a damn thing you can do to me to make me stop fighting this because the truth is on our side. As we mentioned today, Kari Lake folded. Let's run this clip.
Now they're going after me and suing me for defamation for talking about the elections. These people are so evil. And I just want them to know, if they're listening, and I'm sure they are, there's not a damn thing you can do to me to make me stop fighting this, because the truth is on our side. We won the election. We won it.
Stephen Richer continues to respond, it was a lie. It was always a lie. She did it to get your $25. Referring to the MAGAs who would support her grift, or to fire you up. But it was a lie. There were no 300,000 fraudulent early ballots. She defamed me, but she also lied to you. Stephen Richards also telling Capital Media Services, it's now official. She accepts that all of this was a lie. This was one big grift. Here's the motion, by the way. ABC 15 Arizona published the lawsuit, and they published the request by Kari Lake to have default judgment be entered against her, conceding she did it and she lost. Defendant Kari Lake, Jeffrey Halpern, Kari Lake for Arizona, and Save Arizona Fund moved the court to conduct a hearing pursuant to Arizona Rule of Civil Procedure 55 sub B sub 2 D within 30 days to include the impaneling of a jury as needed to adjudicate factual disputes. Defendants further request an order setting scheduling hearing within 5 court days to secure just, speedy, and inexpensive determination of this matter before the forthcoming primary and general elections. And so that's what it was all about, folks. What Kari Lake wanted to avoid by doing this Was discovery, was depositions, was having to testify about the facts, about her lies, about her defamation. She wants to grift off of it and raise all of this money, but she does not want to step in a courtroom under penalty of perjury and have her be video recorded or have to testify in a court of law regarding the true facts here, regarding the actual truth. By the way, we had Stephen Richer on the MeidasTouch Network over this past weekend. He did an interview with my colleague, David Arenberg, Florida State prosecutor, who also now runs True Crime MTN, our true crime channel here on the MeidasTouch Network. It's one of the fastest growing true crime networks on YouTube. Just search True Crime MTN if you're interested in Arenberg's project over there. It's great stuff. But this was part of Arenberg's interview with Bill Gates, who sits on the Maricopa County Board, and with Stephen Richer, the Maricopa County recorder, who was defamed by Kari Lake and who just prevailed on the liability phase, with Kari Lake tapping out. Let's play this part of our interview. Play the clip.
Hey, Stephen, you got something better than that?
Yeah, I guess the one that for me is, I think, important for more and more Republicans is I just think that President Trump has crossed too many lines. And I'm pleased that yesterday Vice President Pence said that he's crossed too many lines for him to endorse President Trump for the candidacy. And for me, January 6th, the documents, the sexual assault, the continued lies about our election system, I think that these are things that in 10 years ago, we would have all said, those are deal breakers. This is a no-duh situation. And I think that we have gotten into this sort of weird mental warp where we have apologized, excused those things, and we have elevated what we perceive to be the threats of the left to a level where it excuses some behavior on our side. But I don't believe that is appropriate. I don't like a lot of the stuff that the left is pushing. I want a Republican president, but if you can't say no here, then is it just that you will never say no to the Republican nominee for president? And I don't believe that makes you an American first. And that's what I think is important.
No, and of course you have Kari Lake, who would go to all of the Trump events, and she would vacuum before Donald Trump's feet and make sure he didn't step on any dirt. You had Kari Lake, of course, who ran for governor, was still whining about the results of the 2020 election, still whining about the results of the 2022 election. She lost in her race because, let's face it, she's extreme. I mean, the MAGA extremism, the weird Trump cult behavior, the way she spends days and days and weeks and huge amounts of times at Mar-a-Lago. It's just, frankly, very pathetic. It's frankly very, very weird. But a big loss for Kari Lake that we can report here on the MeidasTouch Network, admitting to defaming Maricopa County recorder Stephen Richer, moves on to the damages fade, total surrender, total capitulation, a big loss for Kari Lake, and just goes to show you all this MAGA nonsense. That's why our court system's so important. Well, hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers thanks to your support. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstallenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Let's use our power well.